Hey guys, it's Dr. Justin Marcagiani. Welcome to the Beyond Wellness Radio podcast. Feel free and head over to justinhealth.com. We have all of our podcast transcriptions there, as well as video series on different health topics ranging from thyroid to hormones, ketogenic diets, and gluten. While you're there, you can also schedule a consult with myself, Dr. J, and or our colleagues and staff to help dive into any pressing health issues you really want to get to the root cause on. Again, if you enjoy the podcast, feel free and share the information with friends or family, and enjoy the show. In the house with Evan. Today we're going to be talking about natural solutions to address eczema at the root cause level. Really excited to chat about this topic here today. Evan, how are we doing, my friend?
Hey, doing better. I was super stiff over the weekend, so I thought, my God, maybe one day we'll do a whole stiff neck podcast. But for now, I'm mobile and on my feet, so that's good. And
Excellent.
we're recording this in December, and winter is usually a time when people start coming out of the woodwork with more skin issues. And I think a lot of it is because they're indoors more than in spring, summer, fall. And so if they're indoors and they don't have good indoor air quality, they're going to be exposed to more dust, mites, molds, and other toxins, which may aggravate or irritate the skin. Also, in general, when you start to kick on the heater, you're going to be drying out your home. And so generally your humidity level in your home may be, like in our house, it's give or take 10% lower than it is in the summer. So with the whole house dehumidifiers, I keep our house at 40% in the summer, but in the winter with that heater on, man, we're down into the mid 20s, 25, 28% humidity. That's pretty dang dry. So sometimes it could just simply be an environmental change like that. But I think some of it is also related to the toxins that people are getting exposed to. And now instead of playing outside with their kids, now they're inside all day with their kids and their skin is reacting to those toxins. So you've really got to get your air quality dialed in. And the winter to me just exposes the poor air quality that people have.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, especially this time of year, we have our humidifiers on. It adds a tiny bit of moisture into the ventilation system because it's like, in the upper teens, low 20s. So just adds a little bit in there just to take the edge off. I mean, that can be helpful to add a little more moisture to the air. Obviously, you can do more moisturizer on the skin. Remember, fat is going to be your internal moisturizer. So high quality coconut oil, grass-fed butter, if we can tolerate those things, that's going to be the best way to do it. But obviously we can add more moisture directly onto the skin, but we want to always internally moisturize with good fat. And again, hydration as well. Fat's the carrier for that moisture to the skin. So that's a really important thing. I remember in college just having chronically dry, like my legs were really dry all the time, and I realized at that time I was trying to be a little bit lower fat because I thought that was healthier, and I started kind of understanding, okay, more coconut oil, more saturated fats. I'm like, all right. And then I noticed the dryness really improved and went away. So fat consumption is a really important thing for natural moisture to the skin.
You know what's interesting now that you mentioned that? I mean, years ago, like when my wife and I first got together, I mean, we were eating grass-fed beef, but I wasn't really prioritizing the fats. I wasn't necessarily seeking them out. I was just maybe cooking with a little bit of butter, but I wasn't intentionally going for good fats. And I remember in the
Right.
wintertime having to put lotion on. Man, I don't use lotion at all anymore. I literally don't need it. My hands are perfectly dry. They're not itchy, they're not patchy. Like, it's a miracle. And you kind of forget where you've come from. Once things start to improve, you forget that that used to be a problem where I used to have to put on lotion. Imagine how much of a hit to the lotion industry you could create if you could just simply get everyone optimizing the strategies we're talking about today. I bet we could reduce the need for lotion by 80%.
Oh, totally. 100%.
And
And
not to
so of
mention,
course,
conventional lotions are actually one of the big triggers of eczema, in my opinion, because when you look at conventional lotions and some of these products that are advertised, you're getting into propylene glycol, you're getting into artificial fragrances, you're getting into many, many synthetic toxic chemicals that people are lathering on their skin just to supposedly fix their skin, but they're actually making their
yep.
skin worse. So you mentioned like topical coconut oil. There's many good like organic shea butter type lotions out there, like Dr. Bronner's. They make a really good lotion. The Everyone brand, I know they make a good soap. I believe they make a good lotion too. Trader Joe's, they had a pretty good quality, low priced lotion that was really clean ingredients. So that's the problem, is like people are trying to do things to fix their skin, but they're actually making it worse with these topical toxins.
No, 100%. Now, when it comes to eczema, eczema does have an autoimmune component, right? So, eczema is a type of dermatitis, just to be 100% clear. So, think of, dermatitis, think of like skin inflammation, essentially. Dermatitis, the derma, that's the second layer of the skin, epidermis first, dermis is the second layer, and then essentially titus is inflammation. And so, you have different types of dermatitises. Okay, so you have atopic, which is kind of the one that eczema falls into. All right, atopic is the major one that you're going to see there. There's other kinds. You'll see contact dermatitis, which is kind of what poison ivy kind of falls into. There's dyshydrotic, where you get more blisters. There's hand eczema. There's neurodermatitis, which is another one as well. There's nummular eczema as well. And then there's one last one called stasis dermatitis. Those are the big ones. So atopic is going to be where eczema falls under. And there's an autoimmune component. There's all kinds of studies showing that people that have celiac, Crohn's, irritable bowel disease issues, lots of different autoimmune issues, there's an increased risk of eczema. So there's an autoimmune component there. And if you look at a lot of the medications that are used to address eczema, you're going to typically have like your anti-inflammatory steroids like cortisone, which are going to be topically rubbed on that area. The problem with that is it tends to not actually fix it. It calms it down, but it can also thin out that skin and make it more prone to have a flare up later on. So it can be helpful in the short run, but you're kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? And then you have other medications like Eucrisa or Elidel that are like kind of more on the calcium urinase inhibitors. They're kind of an immune suppressant. So there is definitely like an autoimmune component there because you're calming down the immune response to kind of help chill out the eczema. And it can be helpful. Those kind of medications could be helpful if you're working on fixing the underlying root cause. The problem is most people don't address the root cause and they just rub these medications on, and then the problems continue to stay at the root level. And so over time, it's going to come back and get worse and worse and worse because you can't just suppress the immune system in the long run and expect for a lasting solution. So those medications may be okay if you're working with someone to really get to the root cause. So that's pretty much what conventional medicine has for options. It's going to have those things. Now, just to kind of highlight, you have eczema, you have rosacea and psoriasis. They kind of have an overlap. All right, there's like an overlap with these three conditions. And I want to just kind of show a comparison guide here for this because it's really important. I want to just highlight this real quick. Okay, here's what I want you guys to see. All right, perfect. So out of the gates, right? All of these skin issues are going to have redness with all of them, right? Eczema, rosacea, psoriasis. They're both going to itch, right? So there's going to be similar out of the gates. The big thing with psoriasis, you're going to see a lot of the silver and white scales. That's going to be psoriasis. And the difference with rosacea is you're going to see a lot more flushing across the skin. Right, both are going to have dry skin. Both can have raised bumps. Psoriasis sometimes raised. Here says none. But the big issue, rosacea, more of a flushness with the redness. Psoriasis, more of the silver scaliness. So that's the big difference. Just so if someone's like, well, what do I have, right? That's kind of the big thing out of the gates there. Hope that makes sense. And there's a couple of things I wanted to highlight with eczema is food components make a huge difference. So autoimmune diet plays a big role. Really reducing inflammation makes a big role. Trying to cut out a lot of the scents and fragrances can play a huge role. So of course, like free and clear types of laundry detergent, you can do all has a free and clear, 7th generation has a free and clear. There's all kinds of different brands that have a free and clear. All is recommended by the Eczema Dermatology Association. So you really want to cut out all scents, fragrances, dryer sheets. That plays a huge role out of the gates.
Yeah, it's a big stressor, and it's a big stressor for people like me that have to smell it. People don't want to smell that crap anyway, but you're poisoning yourself, you're poisoning your children too. You're sending them off with those clothes that have those synthetic fragrances, and those are irritating to the skin, but also those can affect the hormones too. I mean, synthetic fragrances in general can have some xenoestrogen type compounds to them, meaning that you're going to be increasing the estrogen. We're in a highly estrogenized society, and that creates a big problem. Hormonal changes, hormonal imbalances, they are a big factor in skin issues.
Correct.
And we see that with a lot of women that have irregular menstrual cycles or maybe heavy bleeding or something that happened, especially after childbirth. A lot of times there'll be skin issues that will pop up, and we fix it in a roundabout way. And I want to go back to one thing you said earlier, which was the fact that people that have eczema, they may be linked or more common in people to have issues like celiac. And that, of course, takes you to the big gatekeeper of these skin issues, which is the gut. And so you and I have found with hundreds and hundreds, now we're into the thousands of clients between us, that the major way to fix the skin is to obviously do some of the easy low hanging fruit, like you said, get rid of scented detergents and all of that. But it's really
Hmm.
focusing on the gut, because if you have gut infections, I mean, if you even look at like some of my very, very old, earliest YouTube videos, when I had H. pylori and other gut infections, my skin was nowhere to where it is now in terms of my skin health. My skin health in the last 7 years has gotten way better. And honestly, it's just been by working on the gut. My diet was already dialed in back then. So I just want to address one thing with people, which is that if you've already gone paleo or autoimmune or keto or carnivore, you're eating good quality foods and you still struggle with your skin, you've got to dig deeper. It's time to look in and see if you've got these gut infections, bacterial overgrowth, candida. All these things inside of your gut are going to be making toxins, disrupting your gut barrier. So I don't care how much bone broth you drink, you're not going to fix your skin if you don't fix these infections.
Absolutely. I mean, there's two categories, right? Infants and kiddos, right, in the first year or two of life, they're going to be a lot more sensitive because of their immune system. So, I mean, of course, the big thing you have to look at is high quality breast milk, and really got to look at what the mom's consuming. The mom's consuming a lot of potential food allergens. I recommend an autoimmune diet out of the gates. Sometimes we even have to look at potentially pulling out salicylates. Salicylates can be anti-nutrients in vegetables. Here's a couple things out of the gates, right? Salicylates are natural chemicals found in many fruits and vegetables. They're really good things. And so out of the gate, I want to pull these foods out as a means of calming down and chilling out the immune system. This is really important. So you can see kind of the negligible, the low, the moderate, the high, and the very high. I just try to tell patients to like focus on the 80-20 because there's so many foods that are like really good for you that are high in salicylates. And a lot of times it's not about being perfect. It's about calming down, kind of the 80-20. So what are the 20% of things that you eat the most frequently that are the most high? And we'll try to sub that and put that in the negligible to low category. That can be really helpful as well. So you can see the different vegetables, you can see the different nuts and seeds. You could see the different, obviously, meats tend to be on the lower side unless you're doing a lot of processed stuff. That's where you get into trouble there.
That's why so
So
many people do so well with carnivore-ish diets. That's kind of what I
yeah,
say I'm eating is carnivore-ish, because I still do berries, I still do rice, and I feel okay with that. I still do, on occasion, I'll do some organic pecans as kind of a treat, and those are delicious, and those don't appear to
yep,
affect my gut or my skin. So in general, if you're going more animal-based, good quality fats, you're knocking out, as you mentioned, you're knocking out salicylates, you're knocking down lectins, you're knocking down
yep.
oxalates, you're knocking down all these
Yeah, and
things
then
that are
here's
irritating.
my oxalate guide. We may want to look at oxalates as well. This is kind of the members area for my patients here. If you're a patient, and you have access to this area, top right hand corner of my website. And you can see I have a low oxalate handout as well. And again, I don't recommend going crazy out of the gates. I just try to look at what's the 20% of food that you eat the most, and let's try to cut the high stuff out, right? And then sub that with the lower one out of the gates. That can make a big difference, especially if you have a baby who has a lot of eczema issues. If we can really get a good autoimmune diet, kind of get the oxalates and the salicylates down, that could make a big difference. But like Evan said, we have to look at gut microbiome stuff. We have to look at things you may be getting in contact with in regards to detergents, even essential oils on the skin. Some of these things can be stressful on the body. So we really got to calm all of these things down. We got to look at good bacteria, maybe have to address bacterial imbalances. Again, if you're not a baby, you're an adult, we have to look at the hormones because a lot of times if you're chronically stressed hormonally with the adrenals or you have estrogen dominant issues as a woman, that can affect your immune system and that could make you prone to having some immune imbalances and your immune system is kind of hyper responding and overly sensitive. And of course, we definitely have to test the gut because if we have SIBO, bacterial overgrowth, dysbiosis, H. pylori, fungal overgrowth, right? Fungus and candida can actually produce oxalates too. So you can have endogenous oxalate production via candida. These things can stress out your body, thus stressing out your immune system. So really looking at the adrenals, looking at cortisol, looking at the female hormones, estrogen, progesterone dominance, really looking at the gut. Are you able to digest and break things down? Are the anti-nutrients in vegetables a problem? Again, I hate cutting out the anti-nutrients in vegetables if we don't have to because there's a lot of good food there. So cooking these foods down can help, but it'll lower it a notch. It won't take a high food and make it a low food. It may not make a high food maybe like a medium-ish food. So cooking, obviously avoiding a lot of the raw salad, steaming, sauteing can help a little bit and kind of lessen that load for sure.
Yeah, well said. Detox is important, and detox can get screwed up by your gut
Hmm.
infections. We've talked about this before, but there's a pathway called glucuronidation in the body, and this gets impaired due to bacterial overgrowth. So sometimes we're coming in and fixing the gut, but then we're also trying to upregulate these detox pathways. So that could include specific support for the liver. That may include binders. That may
Hmm.
include liver gallbladder combinations. Maybe there's some acid and enzymes that we throw in. When you look at someone's face or just their skin in general, to me, it's really the window into their gut, into their immune system. So if you see somebody with just major issues with their face, generally there's a gut problem. I had a woman, she was young when she first started with me. I think she was around 2021, and we got on FaceTime together. And my God, her face was so terrible. She hardly wanted to be seen on FaceTime, but she said, I think it's important for you to see me to see how bad this is. I'm like, yeah, I appreciate you showing me this. And man, by the time we got through working through some of the tests and the gut protocols, her skin was flawless. And I even had to ask her, like, do you have makeup on? I just want to clarify and confirm. Do you have makeup? No, I don't. So it's amazing to see what you can do. And timeline wise, I mean, we're talking maybe a few months, but within a couple of years, I would say you could completely reverse many of the skin issues that people are suffering with. And that's actually a really short timeline. I mean, we've seen people that have had skin issues for decades. And as you mentioned, they've been on these topical steroids or other medications for a very long time. And not once has the dermatologist ever said, hey, maybe you need to go animal based with your diet and see how that goes. I've never heard that conversation. If you're a dermatologist out there practicing like that, let us know. Maybe we can chat with you. But in general, that conversation is not happening at all.
Yeah, I'm in a lot of eczema groups online on Facebook, and it's amazing how resistant parents are, and actually people are in general, to changing their diet when it comes to eczema. It's unbelievable. They're like, "Oh, I'm gonna go get this food allergy test from their like dermatologist," and like most of the time, that's just like an IgE kind of skin prick test. And again, IgE stuff's it's okay, but that's kind of more on the anaphylactic side. That tends to not be the massive driver. Of course, if you use any IgE stuff like environmentally, like dander and cedar and Austin, obviously we can get a really good high quality HEPA filter with a activated charcoal filter as well to kind of filter a lot of this stuff out to keep the indoor environment good. We'll put some links down below for the recommended air filters that we use with our patients, cutting out all of the scents and fragrances in detergents, in laundry, everything. No dryer sheets, all that stuff makes a big difference. Keeping the skin moist does help because if the skin's already dry, you're more prone to itch it. If you itch it, you increase the inflammation. It's this vicious cycle. And the problem is if you're kind of naturally oriented, a lot of the things that may have like an essential oil or something in there that may be more natural that you may think is helpful, because the immune system is already hypersensitive, that may actually flare it up and make it worse. And so one of the things that we'll use is just a really clean, super hypoallergenic moisturizer. I'll put a couple in the links down below that I found to be successful. There's a couple off the bat of my head I could think of. Um, Vanacream makes one called Vanapply. That's a really excellent one. There's one by La Roche Posay. It's a Lipicar Balm. That's another really good hypoallergenic one. Aveeno makes one that's decent with a little bit of oatmeal in there. The colloid in the oatmeal can be helpful, but keeping that skin moist can be helpful so you're not scratching. Won't fix it though, right? There's no magic solution, but it will at least help to calm it down. And then I find like if you're a mom and you're breastfeeding your kid, you have to change the foods that you're eating because that is going to get passed down to your child and can stimulate their immune system. And so typically for a good month or so, and then we do a very methodical reintroduction. I know with my wife, eggs were a big trigger for a while. And now she can do eggs and my kiddos can do eggs, but for a while they couldn't. And so we had to keep that really under control for a bit. And probiotics did help as well, and really helping to support good bacteria help. But we had to really do everything kind of full cycle. And we did use a little bit of that Elidel, calcium urinase inhibitor, just a little bit to calm it down. But it'd be like for a day or two. And then we would do all the other things. And salicylates were a little bit problematic as well. So we did try to cut some of those things down, and it's like imagine the immune system's all wound up and we're just trying to calm it down, calm it down. And once you have it below a threshold, so to speak, you kind of have a little bit more wiggle room. But until you calm it down to that level, you don't quite have that ability to move.
Yeah, yeah, well said. There was one other paper too we were looking at on glutathione, and this was just uh, it was a quite old study, but still very, very timing in terms of like glutathione. We have it in our conversations all the time, and depressed glutathione levels were observed in patients with psoriasis, eczema, dermatitis, and other skin issues. And so we know that glutathione is going to be depleted when you're exposed to toxins, whether it's chemical, whether it's mold toxins, or other things. We often see glutathione levels depleted, and this is one of your master antioxidants. And so you may need to work that into the detox protocol. Sometimes that can aggravate people. So you just got to work with a practitioner on this, because I've taken too much glutathione and reacted poorly to it before. So you got to go slow and steady with it. Sometimes it's going to flare people up if they've got a big toxic load and it starts mobilizing things. That may overwhelm your system and you may feel worse or have some sort of like a die off or what feels like a Herxheimer reaction. What about zinc too? Do you want to hit on like some nutrients for skin too?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think out of the gates, like probiotics are really helpful. Omega 3s play a really great role, anti inflammatory. Vitamin D plays a good role modulating the immune system. If you're doing glutathione and you're a breastfeeding mom, be careful because you don't want to overly mobilize toxins out the breast milk. So you may want to go really gentle on that, or maybe a little bit of NAC and just kind of naturally, increase that very slowly. As long as you don't have any die off, you're probably okay. I would say zinc is also going to be excellent as well. It's going to be a good building block for the skin, really good building block for the immune system. So is selenium. So some of these you may just get in a really good multivitamin. Some you may get from eating high quality grass fed meat, fish, some green vegetables, seafood. So a lot of these may come from whole food sources as well as supplement sources as well. And then, we have some really good anti inflammatory things that we can do, whether it's curcumin, resveratrol. These are kind of plant based antioxidants that are very powerful. Also, there could be a histamine connection as well. And so histamine from the environment, from allergens, good air filtration is excellent. And then we can do things to help modulate the immune system, like quercetin, like stinging nettle. These can be very helpful and very calming on the immune system in regards to the histamine response.
Yeah,
Anything
well
else you want to
said.
highlight there?
I think it's a good start. Olive leaf we use a lot too in some of the gut protocols, and that may help some of the skin issues too. So it really just depends. I don't want people to just go out and buy everything we just mentioned and assume it's going to fix their issues. I think it's really important to try to get a good workup and figure out where your issues coming from. I think it's great to be able to look into some of the topical stuff, get rid of your conventional shampoos and conditioners, go high quality organic products with your skincare. But beyond that, you really need to try to get some investigation done and figure out what the heck's going on, because for years I was doing good, clean products topically, but I still had skin issues and it was all because of my gut. So, really encourage people to reach out if you need help. Dr. J and I work with people around the world so we can get at home lab testing done to where we can investigate the root cause of your skin issues. And often we're going to be using urine and stool. Those are probably the two most common things we're
Yeah.
going to be looking at. And these are far more effective than what you're going to get run from a conventional doctor. We're going to be able to tell you what the heck's going on. Your dermatologist is not running stool tests, but they should, because the issues they're
Hmm.
seeing in their clinic would certainly be improved if they could fix the issues that we're finding on these stool panels. So I think it's really important to test, not guess, figure out what the heck you're dealing with, because you could take probiotics for your whole life and never fix these infections if you
Totally.
have them.
Yeah, no, I agree. And again, if you go to the dermatologist, it's pretty typical, right? They may recommend like like oatmeal bath or a diluted bleach bath or Eucrisa or a corticosteroid or Elidel. They may recommend these things, but that's not going to be the solution. And again, some kids naturally grow out of it because their immune system evolves, gets better, their gut becomes less leaky naturally. Maybe they start making healthier food choices as their parents become more aware of what's going on, right? There's a lot of different things that can shift and kids can grow out of it. If you're an adult, that probably may not be that way. It's a little bit different there. So you're really going to have to make changes and you really have to look at the root cause and not just get hyper obsessed with just something topically is going to fix it and that'll be it. Probably not the case. And so you really have to look at the gut. You have to look at stress. You have to look at how you're digesting and breaking down your foods. You have to look at the nutrients that modulate your immune system, like zinc and selenium and vitamin D and glutathione. You have to look at gut bugs that can have a negative effect on your immune system and also beneficial bacterial balance. These play a massive role. And again, you may have to get more strict with the diet. Like some people, a paleo template may be enough. Some have to go to way more extremes, like autoimmune, cutting out salicylates, or at least being salicylate and oxalate conscious. That may have to happen as well.
Yeah. And the good news is this stuff is in general pretty reversible. I mean, like I said, we've seen amazing before and afters working with people. And it's just a wonderful thing because there's so much of your confidence level that comes from having good skin. I mean, in regards to seeking new jobs, getting a raise, finding a date, finding a spouse. I mean, your kids, wanting your kids to not have any self confidence issues. So, I mean, I tell you, just the impact of skin, it could change your income if you don't feel attractive enough. Maybe you're not going to seek that higher paying job, or maybe you're not going to seek that raise if you have self confidence issues because of your skin, or maybe you feel like you can never leave the house without makeup. I mean, skin is one of those things that really is important to address. So sometimes it seems like a vanity based thing, but that vanity really does turn into success. And so I think it's important for people not to feel self conscious and just know that you can fix this thing. So no matter how down in the dumps you are, you got to keep digging.
Yeah, and skin can be a really good, sign if you're healthy or not. And it's a lot of times it's going to tell you if you have gut issues, gut food allergy issues, microbial imbalances. Also, consuming good fats, good collagen, good proteins. This is the building block of your skin. So you really want to make sure you have good dietary nutritional foundations, and we chill out a lot of the food that's going to throw off our gut bacteria. Now, topically, there's a couple things you can do topically. I mentioned some of the moisturizers that can be helpful to provide moisture relief, which then helps decrease the itching, which then decreases that perpetual inflammatory cycle. There's some soaps that you can do that are decent. I find just a 10% sulfur soap can be excellent. It's been used in dermatology for decades, but just 10% sulfur soap, unscented, works wonderful. Usually the sulfur comes from like volcano ash or some type of soil that's very high in sulfur, but sulfur has an anti-inflammatory quality to it. It can have some antifungal, antibacterial quality. So that can be calming. You don't want to lather it on too long because it can be very drying to your skin. But sulfur is good. And again, it's just one part of the equation. There's no magic solution, magic soap, magic potion that's going to fix it, but it can be very helpful as long as you're plugging in all the other things to the big equation.
I wonder if that's because it's helping with detox support on the skin or something. I mean, if you think about glutathione and the sulfur connection there, you're mentioning topical sulfur. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, topical sulfur. I mean, it's a lot of different data on it being very helpful for acne. I mean, with that, it can be very cleansing for the pores, cleaning out the sebum. There's also some anti-inflammatory effects to it. Very helpful with like seborrheic dermatitis, psoriasis, eczema. So I think it has some anti-inflammatory qualities to it. I mean, it's been used in dermatology for decades, so it's natural. So I kind of like it.
Very cool. Well, I
Yeah,
think we've
very
covered
cool.
everything I wanted to cover.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it too with the sulfur is there could be a fungal bacterial imbalance issue, right? And I do think sulfur does have antibacterial, antifungal. It also helps break down a lot of the keratin excess in your skin. So, like if you have keratosis pilaris (KP), where you kind of feel like the bumps in the back of your arm, it can kind of help break down those excess keratins that form in the pore, so the back of your arms don't feel as bumpy. So that's really good too. I know a lot of women have that.
Yeah,
Of
my
course, getting your omega threes up can also help that too. Omega threes and zinc.
Yeah, I was gonna say my kids had a little bit of that early on. We just bumped up the omegas, and then boom, we knocked out the keratosis pretty easily. So that's probably one of the easier things to address. Sometimes this thing gets tricky. Like you mentioned, there's no magic bullet or potion. A lot of times it's a combination of us getting small gains in different categories of the body.
Yeah, and it's nice. Just get a nice 10% sulfur soap and lather that up, put it on your kids for like 30 seconds, rinse them off. It can be very helpful, kind of cleanse out that keratin, keeps the pores really healthy, and it's totally natural. So I'll put some links to the ones that I like down below and the ones that I personally use.
Sounds good. Well, if people need help, they can reach out. We work with people online. So, wherever you are in the world with skin issues, we're happy to help. You can reach out to Dr. J at justinhealth.com or me, Evan Brand, at evanbrand.com. And we're happy to work with you, help you run labs, figure out what we need to do to get you feeling better. More importantly, get your skin looking better. If you have issues, don't give up. It's okay. We're going to get you taken care of.
Absolutely. And to be a great functional medicine practitioner to really solve a lot of these things, you have to be a master general practitioner. You really have to understand the gut, hormones, diet, skin. You really have to kind of connect everything together. If you're like a master skin person, but you don't have the diet or anything else to kind of interweave and connect to it, then you're not going to really be able to help your patients 100%. So it's really important that you, if you're working with someone, you find a master generalist that really understands how all the systems connect. And you don't want to just work with the hormone person or the gut person. You want to work with someone that really understands the connection. So that's really important that people are interviewing their practitioners, really try to make sure they have a full 360 kind of perspective on it. And then again, if you want to reach out, evanbrand.com for Evan. There'll be a link there for Evan. And for myself, Dr. J at justinhealth.com. We are available worldwide to help you all out. And we'll put links down below for some of the recommended products that we talked about today, things that we actually use with our family and patients. Outside of that, Evan, phenomenal chat with you, man. You have a awesome week. And everyone listening, appreciate your support. Comments down below and share with friends and family.
Take good care. See you next week.
Thanks. Bye, y'all.
Bye bye.